from Alaska on this edition of All In. We are pleased to welcome Matt Paveglio, Matt the Musher, who is wearing his other hat today, Matt. So I know you changed jobs recently, but you're getting ready to work, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a business card for the first time, and I've got an office, and I left the bedside of ED nursing, and I have gone into education. So they're making me go back to school, Amy. I'm also in last week of statistics.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah, I've got students in the ER. I've got students on a couple medical surgical floors, and I got just a group of women I'm working with that are pretty awesome. So yeah, we're
Very
it's
cool.
it's a new challenge. I have to learn Excel. That's terrible.
Oh, well, so you got to start somewhere, Matt. That's terrific.
Yeah.
And it's good for your brain. The more that you educate, the more you learn. My mom is getting ready to celebrate a milestone birthday, and she reads and also does jigsaw puzzles every day, but she's still teaching calculus and advanced math as she approaches 80. And so I am so impressed with her. She's very sharp. So that's the track that you and I are on too, I hope.
Yeah, just
Continuing to educate
switching
herself.
careers, getting new challenges. It's uncharted, and I don't feel like I'm great at it right now. But every day is a little reminder that that there's a win. I get wins, and I stack those little wins, and I'm happy. And then try and put my insecurities to bed, and
Hmm.
and move on.
I feel
It's
like you're speaking my language since I'm learning how to stare at a camera every day now instead of hide behind a radio microphone.
it's good to see like this, not shoving marshmallows in my mouth. It's
Right?
like really,
Right?
it's fantastic.
I told people about Chubby Bunny on the
Yeah.
show, and there are, of course, a lot of people who used to listen to After Hours. And I have mentioned you a couple times that you were one of our guest Chubby Bunny competitors, and that you ended up tying with producer Jay for the Chubby Bunny World Championship. So maybe with your new schedule, when we bring back Chubby Bunny, you can be part of it again, because then everybody will be online.
I'll train for it. I'm not
Oh,
going cold
amazing.
this time. Yeah.
So as I talk about the Iditarod, and what was it, 4 years ago? How long's it
Yeah.
been since you were training?
Yeah, I think this will be, yeah, it's four. So 23, 24, 25. It's 26. So yeah, it's a little bit in the rear view right
Mm.
now. Yeah, it's been a little while, but I've been actively involved ever since. I haven't taken a moment off full time. I mean, full time. I did ride racing schedule or training schedule for 10 years now. And
Wow,
so this
wow.
year I'm going to take a little break and kind of focus on home a little bit.
So what does that mean when you're still in the industry and still working and training? What's your role now, even though you're not at this point training for another race yourself?
Well, so the year after I ran my Iditarod, I stepped into a recreational kennel, and this recreational kennel is maybe someone that's maybe going to run Iditarod someday, but isn't like professional, doesn't run tours, and I help them kind of maybe take the next step. We a couple of ladies that one's a nurse practitioner I worked with, and they took my daughter under their wing, gave her some junior races, and I just helped them start getting qualified for the Iditarod. So maybe instead of going out on a trail around some lakes, we go up a mountain and then down a mountain and do an overnight, and just kind of push the boundaries a little bit. And just all the while learning their dogs, and then I helped a couple of friends get ready for Iditarod,
Mm.
and go down that route. Like so, then I like so each consecutive year I've been around a team that's training for Iditarod itself, or knocking out qualifiers. So it's just the more horses you have in the stable, the better. I mean, the more humans you have, the better. And so just kind of being there to support them, because there's bad snow conditions. You might have to travel, so an extra person to help load dogs and load equipment is a big deal. Or a windstorm comes down and blows down trees on 20 miles of trail. Well, you got to go out there and
Mm.
clear those trails and groom those trails, get them ready for the dogs. So like, I'm there helping the families get ready. So that's, and then race organization. Like the real future for me is junior qualifiers, getting the kiddos ready. My daughter got, so when I'm helping these other teams, and like people, I don't know if most of you guys know, I don't own my dogs. I have two racing dogs. These people were giving my daughter, TG, like teams to run in junior Iditarod races. So I go and help Junior Iditarod, Junior Willow get their races going, whether I'm putting in trails or being a race judge or something, just kind of pre-organization, seeking funding. That's going to be my passion right now, is kind of doing that. So I will help with the junior races this year, and I'll sneak out and run dogs somehow, some way. I still got Toasty and Kissy at home, and they are nuts. So they are full trained huskies. They don't sit, they don't lay. They kind of come back to me. They're wild. They're wild. So yeah, they need to run, and so I'll get them run. But focus is going to be a little bit more at the hospital and on Kelsey, because she's been a widow for like 10 years during the winter, and she likes me, and we're empty nesters now. So I'm like
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm all she's got, but so we're just going to kind of be conscious of that right now, for sure.
So if you look at Matt's Facebook page, and I enjoy doing this periodically to make sure I haven't missed any of his videos, he'll get out on his sled with his dogs. And whatever the season is, whether it's snow, sometimes they don't have the snow, but he's out there and he'll be on the sled with a camera, and he'll be taking videos, and you can see the amazing Alaska scenes around you, the mountains. Sometimes it's late at night. And my favorite ones are the snow, of course, especially now that I'm dealing with August in Texas. Oh my gosh, that's awful. But always enjoy when I get to see your perspective. And your daughter, she ran a few of the junior races, right? The junior Iditarod. I know, as you mentioned, she's off now and she's pursuing her own path, but you were able to work with her. So what was that like, to pass on your wisdom and experience to your daughter, who also got bit by the bug?
Oh yeah, well, it's funny. She says that, I pushed her, and she, like, when she's speaking at the end of a race, she's like, "Oh, my dad kind of made me do this." But then when the accolades come, she fully accepts those, and maybe I don't get all the credit, for pushing her at that point. But she did 900-mile races, so she's got really over 1,000 miles of racing. And so the first time you do it, you're sending your 14-year-old daughter into the woods with a team of 10 dogs, and it's -30, or -20. And she seemed to get stronger every year. And she's able to, I just think she's more conscious of the dogs. She doesn't have as much ego. Like, she's not going to push the dogs, but she just was getting better and better each year. And then the last, like, I think 4 years, every summer she'd go and work in a dog yard during the summer or do tourism. So as much as she was like not into it, it was real special time. I mean, from COVID on, her and I had winters where we got to spend time. She wasn't a traditional athlete, not a court sport athlete. And so, like, having her, taking her under my wing, like being with her, that was special time. So, we could take off and go for a weekend and run dogs and just kind of push her. And we got to see her development. We got to put her in situations that were tough. And yeah, she thrived. And where her normal was now, like, kind of up here as far as what she could tolerate in the woods and with the dogs. And I mean, Amy, one night her and Tara Crossman, a junior musher from Maine, came to Alaska, and we had great alpenglow, like just the moon shining down, and you turn your headlamp off. In a headlamp, you're in a tunnel. Like, this is your field of view. So out here, you can't see. And so you turn your headlights off, and you can kind of see, like, through the woods now. It's just the moon showing, teaching the girls how to do that. And I'm the third team, and we're coming up and over these hills. It's just one after the next. And you're just in this beautiful birch forest, and stars are shining, all of that. And the team in front of me, Tara, stopped. And I was like, "Keep going." And there's a team that's coming head on to us. And I'm like, just pass them. And she's like, "That's TG." So TG's team had turned around, and TG is standing in front of her sled. And there's a moose just spinning around. I mean, we're talking 900 pounds of meat just spinning around, not 20 feet in front of her. And TG, calm and cool, just collecting her lead dogs, clapping her hands, waving them off. And I can't shoot a pistol past two dog teams, try not to hit my kid, and control my own team at that time. So but TG calmly, coolly collected them. And then I'm like, we just kind of gave the command, "You got to go past the situation, kind of move past it." And she did. And, I mean, that's a tough situation to be in. And it was kind of cool to see. It was exciting. It was about the last 5 miles of the run. And the dogs after that, we call it Moose Boost. And they're very fast.
Wow.
They want to get out.
So they have a healthy fear of animals out there as well. It's not like they'll try to go after the animals.
Occasionally, you get a little critter, and they'll trigger a team, and that's pulling 12 huskies out of the woods after they're chasing a rabbit or
Oh
something.
my
Yeah,
god.
that'll happen occasionally, but most of the time they're just locked in. They're locked in. But after 30 miles, a lot of that craziness is gone. They don't like they're just kind of focused and they're pretty into it. But you get a couple of wild cards. My dog Kissy, he chases animals. He's big dum dum. So yeah, he's not as locked in sometimes. So,
So
but yeah,
going back to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I was done.
Going back to your Iditarod, you had some encounters with animals. And of course, you had some times where you're racing at night and it's just you and your team and the light that you can muster. What do you remember now, a few years removed? What are the moments that stand out to you the most about that experience?
I mean, there's just a lot of good natural moments, like I think about it in terms of like just overall, it was you cut off from the internet and the phone and all of that, and you're gone for 2 weeks. Like all of a sudden you don't have to worry about, and I think it's why we golf, we hike, we do things, we just want to disconnect and kind of
Mhm.
get out there. You know, I it was 2 nights, and you kind of the first 2 nights are kind of acclimatization, and you're just kind of getting used to that sleeplessness. And I wake up and it's a bluebird day, and we have to cross these wind blowing rivers, and we're going into an area called the Buffalo Tunnels, and there's just buffalo turds everywhere, just huge buffalo turds. Like wood bison have been located there, and so I start taking pictures. I'm like, this is this beautiful landscape, and you might see a horizon, there's just a big pile of dung, and I'm like, I'm not going to see one of these things. I mean, the that was there, but I saw water, or not a water bison, but a wood bison, that was perished, but it had been stuck in the ice, and it cracked through the ice, and it churned it up for like 20 or 30 yards. And so it's like, got a great picture, like its head's out and one of its arms, and then there's in a circle around it, there's like the dung, but it's like they held vigil. There was not a hair on this thing touched. It was just
Wow.
like the rest of the herd stayed close, didn't
Wow.
allow it to be attacked or anything like that. And I'm just sitting there just like just in awe of it. And I've got a video of that, like a little loop on my phone. It's pretty amazing. So that was pretty neat. And then I come up through the woods, and I remembered like there was this like broken sled on the head. Someone was pulling a trailer on their dog sled, and it broke off. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like thinking maybe I'll grab that thing and try and tow it to the next checkpoint or something like that. I still had like 60 miles to go. It was a terrible idea. But I was like, I look up, and all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 bison, and we're kind of in the trees now, and 4 or 5 bison's just staring at me, and my dogs are like, they're not barking or charging. They're like, whoa. And so we kind of have like a little moment, not necessarily a standoff, but we're recognizing we're there. I'm recognizing we are not moving forward anymore. And
Wow.
then they just started stampeding off the trail and just dissipated into the woods. Pretty sure it wasn't a hallucination, but like I've got a lot of dung pictures to prove that they were at least in the area.
Yep.
That was pretty neat. And then later on that night, we camped during the day at like and then we had a run into this town called the Nikolai. We're in this area called the Burn at this point, and we run into Nikolai, and we're getting paced by some creature. It was a wolf or a coyote, and you can just see
Whoa.
eyes off to the side, not worrisome, like they're just curious, like what is this? Like I'm probably the 30th team to come through at this point, but like we're getting paced by some creature. And then after that, it wasn't the only other animal I saw was a dead moose, and he was right in the middle of the trail, and that was right outside the village. And Matt Failer, one of the other mushers, had to like it got into his team. The moose that was sitting at the edge of the village, like harassing mushers, and Matt had to shoot it and like
Oh my
disembowel
gosh.
it. And so it was great. There's this not super wide trail, and the villagers came and put like marking stakes all around this moose, as if you're not going to see a giant moose in the trail, but thank you. Maybe it's for the higher speed vehicles, but like it was like obviously it was pretty neat. But then
Wow.
the villagers end up harvesting that moose, so it's kind of neat. But really, thank God, not a lot of interaction with the big
Mm.
animals out there during the trail.
I think the story that I remember is toward the end of your Iditarod where you had an incident, the dogs had gotten tangled up or had the sled fallen over completely, something like that, and they got off the trail and you had to essentially get everything back online and get the dogs untangled before you could continue. I mean, that type of thing in the cold, I don't know if it was in the dark or not, but man, there are complications that you have to know how to deal with in that moment.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah. But also like you kind of got to be dumb about it and not overanalyze and just kind of do the next little thing because you start thinking about the big picture and like I when that happened, it's the last run and you're in this area called the blowhole. You got this formation of the mountains that pushes these katabatic winds down to the ocean. And one of the experienced mushers said, if you have problems, don't stop. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting thing. Well, my sled was I'm the sled should drive like this, and the dog team's like out in front, and you're going, well, the wind is coming this way, and my sled, I had to like drive like I'm sideways on my sled, with the nose facing into the wind, but my dog team is running like I'm perpendicular to my dog team, like not
Oh my gosh.
following behind it, but I'm like this, and the dog team's going like this, and the wind just kind of picks me up and then sets me down like that. Again, it was weird, Amy. It was like blue sky, but just ground blizzard at 70, 80 miles per hour. And so we get pushed off this big hill onto this river. I can't remember the name. It starts with a K, but it's this like band of turquoise, like wind blowing, and it's just like that glacial turquoise. And I've got like my ice spikes on my boots, and I'm able to get some traction. But like halfway down the hill, I was just getting dragged down it. I couldn't stop. The snow was like had a crust on it, was a couple feet deep, and we get down to the bottom. I'm looking up at the trail, going. I just see I see a couple of the markers, and they're barely see them, and they're a couple hundred feet up, and I'm just like, man, that's going to be real hard. So I'd have to get my snowshoes on, pull them up there, convince the dogs to go into the wind. So we just decided I was kind of paralleling that trail above me. So we just started running the river, got everything kind of organized. And that sure enough, that trail was up here and it kind of dropped down to the river and crossed the river and went up another bluff. So we like kind of took a shortcut, you know, and then we got out into like, we come out of the hills like within a mile, and it's really blowing for about 2 miles. And we came out of it as soon as we got into it, and then I was the last team for 2 days to go through there. 6 mushers got stuck behind me in that storm. Like one of the girls broke her collarbone and was stuck in her bag, and the guy that was trying to help her broke his ankle just on ice incidents, all in the same incident. My Katie Jo and her Dieter, the Dieters, their husband and wife combo, they got stuck together. Riley Dyke, who I'd been running with for a couple days, got stuck. And then my real good friend, Sean Williams, who's just got the craziest story overall, like got stuck, and he was like 18 hours, and his mom had passed. He's a Texan. Originally his mom had passed. It was her birthday, and he is in his bag for 18 hours, like in the sled dog bag. And he just kind of had that thought like, okay, maybe I won't, this isn't good. And at that point, he started thinking about his mom and his boys. He's got 2 young ones, and he hit his spot, and the rescue team still couldn't come right to him because it was so bad out there. But like very fortunate to get through that. And you get through it and you see Safety Roadhouse. You're 20 miles out. They make you put your bib on, get ready to go into Nome. And you just don't know how fortunate you are until you get through it. So the thought of running it again is kind of awesome, but then I might not be as lucky. I was in a protective bubble the whole time, it felt like. So just I'm not delusional thinking it'll just be an easy piece of cake anymore. Now I know what it's all about. It's twice as scary.
What would you say are the major reasons or factors that keep people from finishing, or that you were talking about the storm, that don't allow them to do the full 1,000 miles?
So during the race, you got to have a good plan, right? And then try and stick to it. And to stick to it and kind of keep that's dog care. That's like how far you're going to run, how long you're going to run. That's a lot of work's got to go into that, and you got to look at a lot of different sources, not only your own, and then and during the course of exercising your plan, you've got to protect your cognitive fuel. you've got to take your own breaks. You got to stay aware. You got to be able to identify problems before they happen. You need to be physically ready to push through them. And it's amazing.
Mm.
It's not necessarily, you don't have to be the biggest, strongest athlete, because you just have to be able to push through them. And then you have to be able to adapt. And if you can't do any one of those things or work them together, like you're going to have some trouble. So I think dog problems, you got to keep your dogs running healthy. You got to keep the viruses. You got to keep the gastritis that could happen. You got to keep all that at a base. You got to, if you see it, you got to recognize it and get to talk to the vets and kind of come up with a plan, or have tools on your own. And then just monitor your dogs like constantly, every armpit, every point that touches a harness, every paw, and then just kind of pump them up, like, yeah, there's a lot of different coaches out there, and we all know it in sports. Like there's going to be some Bobby Knights, and then there's going to be some, Jim Valvanos, and you got to figure out which one you need to be at which time. And I just think positive reinforcement with the dogs are good. Yeah, I mean, it's just that there's a lot of things that can take you out, but I think the number one thing that can take you out is ego. You're just like, I'm racing, and if you got a team that can win Iditarod, sure, go ahead and do it. If you have a training pool of 150 dogs and you've got 6 people helping you handle and train and get everything together in your full Formula One type race team, sure. But if you're someone like me or anybody else that's like, well, I'm running someone else's dog, so I have to be a little more responsible with them. I want to finish this thing. I want to get into the villages, meet the people, finish, have all that. And maybe I only get to do this one time. Then you got to be really conservative. And so, yeah, just kind of being honest with your training plan and what you're working with. And then again, being that ability to adapt on the fly. And it's the same thing I teach the nurses in the hospital. You got to, like, again, have a plan, protect yourself, be prepared mentally, physically, to love on the patients, and then adapt. So that's like
people. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because you don't know it's coming, right? So it could be any manner of things: bison, a storm, some wind, whatever the weather conditions might be. People ask me a lot, though, and this goes back to even when we had you on the show as you were preparing and training for your first Iditarod. People ask about the dogs, like, is this cruel? The dogs get hurt or they suffer injuries, or in worse cases, of course, you might lose a dog, or a dog might pass away. So how do you make sure that the dogs, I know you told me they love to run. This is what they want to do. So they enjoy doing this. But how do you make sure that the dogs are well cared for and prepared for something like this?
Well, you fight all the old school ideologies, like don't bring the vets over because they'll just find problems. Well, you want them. So you become transparent. And that's like not only in your race practice, but your yard practice and your videos. You just don't cover anything up. You got to be transparent. What I'd tell the junior mushers that I'm running with is, like, if you bring a vet team over, yeah, they might find something, but you get 6 people massaging your dog team, looking at your dog team, caring for your dog team. That gives you a little bit of time to kind of, it's just extra hands. So bring them in. So, and then just, I mean, you can tell if a dog's not having fun. You really can. You can see it in their eyes. You see it in their, like, they sulk, and so if they're not having fun, you send them home. And really, like, we grade them. I mean, things can happen. A dog can step in a moose hole and hurt a shoulder, and then they're done. You don't push it. There's some tricks to bring them back and this and that, but, like, overall, like, you just kind of, you run at a slow pace, you're careful when you need to be, you feed them the best food, and then you don't do it unless you can afford, or you have the ability to do that, treat them the best they can. It's just, there's good practice out there. We got great vet med, we got great science behind it. Like, let's use our resources. So I think just being transparent with the judges and who you are, it's hard. It is really hard on the dogs. And it is, like, and you just got to be trained. If you're trained for it, I don't think it's as bad of a thing. And they are just super efficient, beautiful creatures. But the second that it's not right, you gotta ego aside, stop what you're doing and figure that out, because it's a shitty look on the sport to push a dog. It's what kind of person does that,
Yeah, right. So the picture, whether it's a movie or whether it's a still photo, that always comes to mind when I think about mushing or even talk to you is that photo where the dogs are taking a break and they're all still on their lines, right? But they're loosened from their harnesses. They've eaten. They curl up. I don't know if they're in blankets, but they curl up and they get piled over by snow because it's
Yes.
snowing or there's conditions. I mean, that to me feels like the kind of the way that they rest. But I don't know if that's just a movie thing. Is that
No,
how it happens?
100%. It's super accurate. So like one of my longest runs was 90 miles. So it was crippled to Ruby,
Wow.
and I'm still being. Some people send it and they're ready. Those are guys trying to. But I was like, I'm running equal run rest cycles at that point, and we get down. We're on like an old logging road, 45 miles out. It's a wide road, but it is. We're kind. The road is like depressed, and there's like bluffs on each side, and wind's just blowing. So wind's coming over, or the snow is coming over, and it's just time to stop. And it's not the best place to stop, but we kind of are close to some trees and we pull over, and I am down in a snow machine track. My dogs are down in the snow machine track. So the wind's just blowing over us. And it was the first only time that I actually got my sleeping bag all the way out on the trail. I take my boots off, I get into my sleeping bag, put blankets on the dogs, and we just curled up and went to bed. And they love it. When you pull a dog out of that, like that curl, their noses are warm, their paws are
Oh,
warm, and their bellies are warm, and they just, you can pull them out with a couple different ways. You kind of go and rub them, wake them up, or if you just start fiddling, they know we're getting ready to go. But if you get some food ready for them, you let them calm down and rest. You get a little food ready, and then you just kind of casually go about your chores. They come right out of it, and then if they're not ready to go, they're not ready to go. And sometimes there's always the sleepy dog that you got to kind of rustle and wake up a little bit more. But yeah, they are great like that. Yeah, there's snow is insulating, and those guys can handle it. They can
amazing.
handle it. So
Are they
any way we
pets?
can get
Are they
rest.
of course. Are they friendly when they're not working, or are these like dogs that you don't really take home as pets?
Oh man, they when they come out of the dog yard and they retire, they go right to the couch and they're real good. I mean, you gotta like some of them you have to be a little more active, but they're wonderful in homes. It's
Awesome.
there's a sequence, there's a reintegration to society that you got to do, and you got to know that they are not like they're not a doodle. And they want to move a little bit, and they want to chew, and they're a super athlete. I mean, you got a 6 foot fence. It's like sociological barrier. I don't know how to say that, but like they can sail over that fence. They don't know
Wow.
it yet, but and if they run, when they get loose, and they do, they are majestic animals. The lope, that greyhound like long lope that they do is just it's amazing to watch. So they're special. But yeah, they we that's what's great about them. Like when you start downsizing your yard, and maybe you want to keep them womb to tomb, but a lot of guys like at 6 7 years, then it's time to go run some 5Ks with a guy, or do bike touring, which is that's what I do with my two dogs now. Because I don't have a full kennel, I hook them to my mountain bike and we go ride trails and they pull me, and it is wild. It's wild. There's
That
no
sounds amazing.
it is. It's like a great way to get around. You don't. It's not an e-bike. It's a D-bike, and you just kind of like fly around. It's so much fun, Amy. So, highly recommend that. And so, yeah, there's lots of avenues after they retire to find homes, and they do really, really well. Yeah, there's an occasional jerk, but like every population has that of
Yes,
every.
for sure.
So,
For sure. Well, I know that you are working with other kennels now. And as you
yeah,
talk about, you're pitching in, staying around the dogs, staying around the community that is Iditarod racing or just dog racing in general, mushing in general. How
yeah.
realistic is it that you will ever attempt this again?
Oh, I mean, it's all I think about. I think
Mm,
physically, like if I keep myself in tune and just in the right place when it's right, it'll happen. I understand what it takes now. No surprises. You got to find the right yard to be in. It's an intimate situation to be with someone else's dogs and kind of doing it their way. But hopefully you find a place where your sweat equity is worth something, and like you inevitably you got to have some money to go along with it. So I'll figure when the time's right, we'll figure it out. But I'd really like to run the southern route. There's a northern route that I did, and then there's a southern route that goes through
ah,
like the town of Iditarod, which is an abandoned town, and then kind of comes up the Yukon River a different way. So I think to kind of get both of those routes, that would be great. Plus, I spread my mom's ashes out there. I kind of got to get back out there, so we'll go out there and do that. I don't have a time frame. I don't have a time frame. It's just again when it's right. But yeah, I think it's a um 75% chance I'll run it again. And if not,
Awesome.
I'm going to help other people run it, like get them prepared and ready because it is just, I can't say enough about it. You know, it's just a great sport to be involved with.
Well, when my husband and I come visit, we
Yes.
definitely are excited to see more of your world there. And I need the snow. I'm missing the cold weather so
Yeah.
much. So he might kill me if I tried to drag him to Alaska in the wintertime. But I definitely want to come when there's snow on the ground. And whenever it is that you're back into it and you're training for another one, you've got a huge community of sports fans and listeners and now viewers who are behind you because people always ask me, "How's Matt? Have you talked to Matt the Musher?" That's
It,
kind of, you're stuck with that nickname. They call you that. How's Matt the Musher?
if anybody comes up, we'll gear them up. Your husband to any fan, we'll make sure I will go out of my way, and you can ask anybody that I've worked around or any of my wife or anybody. I'll make sure you have a good time. Like
Awesome.
sharing the state's a big deal. It's a lot of fun, and
Yes.
kind of validates while we're here. So
Very
100%
cool.
March is beginning of March into February. You get a little bit more light, Northern Lights, the festivals with all the dog
Oh,
races.
yes.
People are coming to town. Like you definitely want to.
Mm.
There's a time to come for the winter, but 100%, you got to come for the Super Bowl.
Well, right. So I was going to say, like, post Super Bowl when football is over, that sounds like the perfect vacation. And I like the idea of checking out for 2 weeks and not looking at my phone.
Yeah. Oh, Amy, like if you were to come, like either we hook you up with the insider who covers the race, or we just kind of figure out ways to get you down the checkpoints so you can kind of see it firsthand and finish in Nome. And to see the Nome experience, it's just I mean, you are flying. I mean, you are flying into the last frontier. I mean,
Wow.
it's wild. So yeah, you 100% have a good time.
Awesome. Okay, so before I let you go, I just thought of this. How fast at peak speed, not that you would go peak speed, but how fast can these dogs and sleds go when they're moving?
So in town we run the Ferrande Festival. Those are sprint dogs. So it's like a desert Saluki, German short hair hybrid fast dog, and they're 27, 28 miles per hour, but that's for 25 straight miles. They redline, and maybe in some of the sprint championships a lot faster. Me and the Huskies were bootying up, and we are. If I were to average 9.1 miles per hour, I would blow everyone out in the Iditarod. Like, so I think like overall my moving average was somewhere around 7.9, and
Wow.
downhills I'm doing 15 miles per hour, but speeds where injuries happen, so we tried to
Yeah.
keep them down. No doubt though, like if we're doing short fun stuff, and we did a lot of that this season where we did 100-mile races, so we brought their bottom or their top end up, and we ran fast. They love it. So I a fully loaded sled, I mean, we could cruise at 10, 12 miles per hour
Oh
and be
my
pretty
gosh.
good, and we would win a lot of races. But yeah, so somewhere in there, you see the world at a different pace. You're slow. You get to take it all in. So it's kind of neat.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. And again, on his Facebook page, Matt's got videos. Seen the Northern Lights through his videos, seen some of the cool mountains and peaks there in Alaska. So it's definitely bucket list awesome to think about being up there for that event too. And Matt, it's so great to connect with you again.
Ditto,
Next
ditto,
up would
Amy.
be Chubby Bunny, and we'll do this on a regular basis as you turn into a professor and a teacher. I know you won't lose your passion for that sled dog.
No, no, never, never.
Awesome. Well, so good to connect with you. I know it's early there too, so thank you for making time for us.
Got plenty of time to seize the day now. Thank you, Amy.
There you go. You're
Appreciate it,
welcome.
guys.